It is nice to be home, huh? Okay, so first approval of the agenda. Minute, is that right? Oh, nope. Second,
Yes, and if you can remind everyone, they need to have their microphones on for those that are viewing. I know you have yours on, but the other ones, if we can keep those on so that who is viewing online can hear you, that's going straight into the stream. Thank
Okay.
you.
okay, so we also need to approve the July 21st.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That's all the minutes. Okay, item 3, approval of accounts payable and payroll. Payroll from June 1st through June 30th, and so on.
So moved, Madam Chair, to approve agenda item 3.
And I'll second. We've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, public requests. Do we have any public requests at this time? Nothing? Public request, public comment. Yep, if you have something to say, now's your chance. Please say your name and
Yes, ma'am. My name is Leon Knoll from Roosevelt
turn your
County.
microphone on.
I'm not microphone shy either. Okay, I want to thank the commission for placing on the agenda the discussion for moving the meetings tonight. The reason that I feel that this is important is not because I want to come to every single meeting. I don't enjoy coming to meetings either. But during my employment at Yucca Telecom, there was many times that there was something important that I wanted to know about, or maybe I wanted to speak about. But I was unable to come because I had a job that I needed to attend to business, and I was unable to come. It just so happened, due to the beautiful little shower that we got yesterday, gives me the opportunity to be here today. I would not have been able to. I have farm work to do now in the daytime, daylight hours when I do that. And so I would really appreciate if y'all would consider moving it to the night, because the business taking place at these meetings is the people's business. And so anything that prevents the people from being notified and knowing what's going on does not create good grounds for producing good results. So thank you very much for having that on your agenda.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Wade Fraze. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is your red light, is that green light on?
It's green.
Okay.
And I too appreciate this being put on the agenda. And I spoke a few weeks ago, and I have family members that did want to be here today, but they can't because they have jobs. They have to go to work, which is the primary reason. The people of the county need to be able to attend county meetings. Now, not that I'm going to promise you that it's going to fill up overnight or anything like that, but right now the opportunity is just not there. It's not there for the people of the county to participate. And that's the purpose of the county commission, is to represent the people of the county. And right now, the people of the county, unless they just contacted representatives individually, all of them, they really don't have a voice. They find out after the fact, and I've heard of I guess arguments against moving it, but they're mainly arguments of convenience. If I myself were a county commissioner, which I'm not, I was self-employed or retired, it would be very convenient for me to meet on weekday mornings. But my convenience as a county commissioner would not be the primary concern. It's the opportunity of the county. Why am I a county commissioner? Why do we have a county commission? And for 30 days out of a month, I think my inconvenience personally, if I were one, would come secondary to opportunities of the citizens of the county. So I can afford to be inconvenienced for 2 nights a month. I've heard other things about, well, it's going to conflict with the city meetings. It's going to conflict with ball games. It's going to conflict. To me, again, those are secondary. At least people have a choice. And there's other days of the week besides Tuesday. There's other Tuesdays of the month. So there are other options to enable people to participate. And I think the primary thing is that most people work, and those people that do work don't have that opportunity. And if someone did desire to run for a county commission position in the future, that would disqualify most of the county residents, because they could not ever attend the meetings. Thank you.
Anyone else?
All right, my name is Will Bannister, and I'm not going to say a whole lot different than what they said already, Leon and Wade, but I'll just explain a little bit of my situation. I've got kids at the house. Of course, I work nights and weekends and stuff. My wife's a teacher, and so she would be unable to come to these. My brother works for Roosevelt County Electric Co-op, and he'd like to come to some of these just for the same reasons, because there's lots of important stuff that, since I've come to these county commissioner meetings, there's been stuff that I would like to, put my 2 cents in as well. So anyway, I appreciate y'all putting it on the agenda, and thank y'all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Moving on to item 5, elected official and department heads.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commission. Just want to report that in my office, we are 97% collected for the 2020 taxes. I'm very excited about that starting in July. That's good numbers. Also, the state delinquent property tax will be in my office this week, and they will be working our 2016, 2017 delinquent properties. So that will be a good thing to get done in our office. As far as your cash balances for the end of May, your general fund beginning cash was $3,410,854.24. You had debits of $1,465,937 and a penny. And you had credits of $713,102.95, leaving your ending cash for May at $4,163,688.30. Does anyone have any questions of me? Okay.
Thank
And
you.
just my 2 cents worth as an elected official, I'm fine with moving meeting times to accommodate our residents.
Thank you. Okay, healthcare. Ms. Carol.
Madam Chair, I'll move to go into indigent meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
motion carries.
Good morning, Commissioners. So on this, for this report, we have 48 indigent claims for $26,278.52. I recommend 43 for approval for $17,952.62. And for disapproval, 5 claims, $8,325.90. Past due, past timely filing were 4, and 1 was not an inmate at that date of service. So if I may find approval for that.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion. We come out of indigent.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carries. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you say that it's past timely
Timely
filing,
filing.
I was going to ask you, because I've had people come to me before on the indigent thing and say that they had turned stuff in on time, but it didn't get processed in time. So when you say it's past a timely filing, is that because of the individual or is it because of paperwork process? or-
Past timely filing, you have 90 days from the date of service to get the indigent claim to our office. If for some reason you can't get it in within 90 days, it's recommended that you either call me or send a letter that it's going to be late.
Okay, so it doesn't
So
have anything to
it-
do with
not
any
the
other
individual.
facility?
It's
Okay,
the facility.
thank you.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the indigent report.
I'll second.
A motion and a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you.
And now going to ICIP.
Mhm.
We came out pretty quick out of indigent, but I need to do the annual report.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'll move to go back into indigent.
I'll second. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
So our annual report for the quarter of July through September 2020, $5,546.96. The quarter of October through December 2020, $5,294.88. And for the Portales ambulance, it was $451.68 that quarter. The quarter of January through March 2021, $6,489.33. Portales ambulance, $451.68. And for April through June 2021, $26,984.33. And Portales ambulance, $1,865.62. For the total of $47,084.48.
I'll move that we come out of indigent.
Oh, I believe you had a question.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
What would you attribute to the big difference between like the previous 3 reports, like July through September, October, December, January through March, around $6,000, but April through June, 26,000. What's the big difference?
The difference is that I waited as long as I could to get as much in for the 2021. I waited for the dates of service to come in for that year so that we don't have to look through all these claims after 2021, after June. Like if I waited in July for the June, all of June to come in. And we had quite a few. because I sent them a notice that we were gonna do the year end, to send them in as soon as possible, their claims.
Thank you. I
We had a-
mean, I think we had a motion.
we did. We had a
Yes, I had a
come out.
motion.
Okay. We had a motion.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you. Now you can ICIP development.
Yes, so it's time again to work on our ICIP listing. We had some public meetings, 2 public meetings for ICIP, and public notices were sent out for these meetings. We had one on July 14th. We had that one at noon, where people would be out for lunch maybe and join us for the meeting. But no one showed up for that. We didn't have any participation, except one gentleman, and it was a complaint about a state highway. And I had another meeting on July 21st at 5:30. And again, no one showed up for participation in ICIP. And there were public notices for both of those. We will be working on a draft. I have had a few more projects come in that I'm going to put on ICIP. And we'll be working on a draft that I will present in August. August 10th. And the final draft will be in September, probably the first meeting, so that I can get it in by the deadline. Does anyone have any questions on ICIP? I don't. Feel good? Thank you. Yes, we're good. No questions. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you.
Moving on, Ms. Hamilton.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So just a couple of things to touch on. So while she was talking on the ICIP, we also had a 5-year road plan. We followed that. I think the public meeting for the ICIP was at 5:30 and we did the road plan at 6. Unfortunately, we didn't have anyone able to attend. And we also put out in the public notice that email comments could be sent to ensure, like, if people were concerned about the roads, they can make sure that they were on the list. At this point, Mr. Lovato has drafted, redrafted the 5-year road plan, because as y'all know, we've got them out for 5 years and we haven't received enough funding each year. So they just continue to roll. So he will have that as a draft for the commission to review. If y'all want to look at moving some things around, or however y'all would like to make an adjustment to y'all's road plans in your specific areas, because again, it's a county as a whole, it's not by specific district, but ensuring that we have those roads that are of key issues in your districts listed and everything. If you feel like anything needs to be reprioritized or such, that's the goal of us being able to give you a working document on the August 10th meeting, so that then by the first meeting in September, we can make the necessary adjustments and get some things shifted around to do that. If y'all would like to have a work session after that August meeting to discuss anything on the ICIP as a commission, we can certainly do that. Y'all will just need to let me know how y'all would like to proceed on that. If you think we can get it knocked out during the regular meeting or a work session, either one. We've done both in the past, so whatever works best for this commission. The next thing is insurance work is continuing out at the fairgrounds, and the repairs are happening. We are going to hopefully have everything pretty well buttoned up by August 12th. That's the goal, so that we're done before cleanup and everything. The other thing is that Kay Barnett did break ground on the stormwater drainage project out there last week. Things are moving along very nicely. They have their retention ponds dug and everything. Both myself and Mr. Spinks met with several members of the Fair Board yesterday to do a walkthrough, so that we could talk about what we had done and addressed, especially at a commission level, because the commission has invested so much out there on the fairgrounds this year, both about $1 million worth of insurance coverage coming in to replace those roofs, the new gutters. Mr. Spinks and his staff are busy putting together the new bleachers in the show arena area. So those are coming along very nicely. If y'all would like to see those or note those during the fair, it's very nice to see those. Safety wise, it's just been enhanced threefold out there to be able to have those in place and everything. We've got several other little projects that Gary's finishing up, and then Rick has a crew with his road guys that are actually working on weeds and getting things shredded, because with this rain, which we are all super thankful for, comes the 9-foot tall careless weeds. So those things grow so much in a day. It's amazing. So we are getting all those knocked down. He's had a crew working a couple of days behind the shop. And then one of the things with the fair is they needed somewhere alternatively to park for one of their events at the outdoor arena. And so they're going to utilize part of that back area where the new road barn will be located. And so Rick's getting that all shredded down and cleaned up and making sure that we don't have anything out there for people to run over with trailers or such. So we're getting all that adjusted, but we're really well with the fair board yesterday. We have talked to them about like the fans that, y'all are putting up in the show ring and the new cool units and everything. And also talked to them about their ability to go ahead and get that fan that they did have donated up in the pavilion. You'll remember the county had engineering done on that for the scope of what that installation is going to require about 3 years ago now. And so ideally we'll be able to work with the fair board and they'll pay for the installation since they had the fan donated. But we're excited to see everything moving forward. We should be in really good shape. We addressed a lot of issues that were on their list after the fair 2 years ago. And then of course last year was kind of like a run and gun kind of event. And so this year will be the first year that we're really able to be out there and experience the fair as a whole. So really excited to see how that all rolls out. And it's going to be a great event for the community. I know that is a board that they do a lot to volunteer for this community with very little thanks. So very much appreciation to them. The other thing that we wanted to consider is I've had several that have expressed the interest in having a work day out there for county folks. And so what we would like to do is have a work day out there on August 12th. That's the Thursday before. This is when Mr. Spinks said that he felt like it, because everyone else will be out there on Friday. So going through mowing, weed eating, painting, whatever needs to be done. And basically we would work with all of our department heads and elected officials and allow them to either, like if they need someone in the office, then they have someone here. If they can spare someone that's willing to come out to the fairgrounds and do some manual labor out there, then we'll do that. We have lots of toilets to clean and super fun stuff. So it will be awesome. We're excited to explore that as a team. And like I say, I've had several people in the county approach me and express interest. And so we're looking at that. And then we've contacted a couple of vendors to see if they might be interested in donating something for lunch, just to where we could grill up some hot dogs for everybody or whatever, have a bottle of water and just take care of everybody that's out there and probably get started a little bit early and try to avoid the heat of the day per se, but we're working toward that. So really excited because again, Gary needs all the help he can get with the weeds. If any of y'all have goats you want to turn out in a pen out there, let me know. I've got weeds. So it'll be great. We've got cattle out there. We're looking for any kind of livestock to clean up in those areas. So it's great. We're being creative. And I think that's all that's on my list. So I would stand for any questions.
Madam Chair, I've got a quick question. Members of the board. We talked about this a couple of months ago, but I would really like for us to continue to pursue the enhancement of the fencing out there. So if there's any way we could allocate any type of funds or special funds that we're thinking about a couple of meetings ago, I would really like to see that. I would love to see that chain link fence replaced with something that's very enhanced, that's going to kind of get the attention of the fairgoers and stuff. So I'm going to continue mentioning that probably every meeting from here on out.
No, that's great. So just you can mention away. That's great. We're going after the grant. So this was our 4th year after the Clean and Beautiful grant. That was one of the scopes that was included in the Clean and Beautiful by Miss Flores, but we were only awarded 14,000. So basically it's all going to go toward the xeriscape there in the windmill park. It doesn't get to expand and do any of the fencing or anything like this just because we weren't funded, but we'll continue to seek those. From what we've seen so far, and we don't have final rules on the ARPA funds, but that will not be an allowed expense for the federal funds. It's very much infrastructure specific to certain aspects as it relates to COVID or wastewater, treatment systems, and those kind of things. But we will continue to look for those other funding opportunities. And that's also something that we will make sure that's clearly identified in our ICIP. And then if y'all would like to move it up on priority list as a commission, then that's something that would be better for our funding sought out at this point. Is if it's truly a priority of this commission, then we need to move it up higher, because it's those first 5, as y'all know, that we typically get to see potential in funding.
Thank you.
Oh, I just had a couple phone calls about roads, but I've already discussed it with you, and I had another text message the other day on X and from 18 to 114. It's
I got a text about that one yesterday.
Yeah.
So I talked to Rick about it. We do not have a blade in the area, but when we get someone around there, I let the individual know that when we get a blade around, we'll let them know. It could be several weeks. It just depends on where we're all at. They do know it's a bus route, so we'll try to get it rerouted as quick as we can for that first August 9th or whatever that first week of school is. But we've got those situations everywhere. And so we're trying,
so you
instead of
you're
roading a
well-
blade,
as long as
yes,
you're
we've
aware
got
of
it on the list.
That's
Yes,
all
sir.
I need to make sure you're aware.
Sorry, we'll try to get to it quickly.
I don't have anything else.
There are a few comments. I think I've had the opportunity to attend a few other meetings, in the community, and I think there are some things that I think that a lot of people in our community are concerned about that I think we need to be aware of. One is this PED's requirement or potential requirement to include critical race theory in our curriculum, in a school curriculum. And a lot of people in our community are concerned. They believe it brings divisiveness. It's actually racist in itself. A lot of people are concerned about that. And I think that as a commission, there might be an opportunity to arise that we could also join in the movement to try to prevent critical race theory from being initiated in our school curriculums. I did attend the Fair Board meeting last night. The Fair Board is extremely appreciative of the efforts and of the commission and the money spent, the repairs being made. They're very appreciative of that. And so I want to relay that. And one thing that they mentioned there, and you probably, Mrs. Hamilton, you can refresh my memory on this. They were talking about a big fan for the pavilion. And so I had a little bit of knowledge that there was one that existed. I don't know, where did this fan come from? How did it originate? Who it belongs to? Where is it? What's it going to take to hook it up? These things. After the little deal we had over the windmills, when we have a donation, donations are good, but we need to be taking into consideration the maintenance. So here we have an expensive fan. It's going to require what they said, the last estimate they had to put that fan in working order in the pavilion was like $45,000. That's way beyond what the Fair Board would have in their budget to accomplish. So that would require funds come somewhere else. I guess they would probably want to solicit some funds from the county. So I'm concerned about taking gifts. Who's taking these gifts? And where, you know, it's kind of a mystery to me how these things originate, but because I'm new. But where is the fan?
There were several questions there. I'm going to try to go through it. So the Fair Board received the fan as a donation from an area, I think it was Coca-Cola
Coca-Cola.
plant.
Yep.
So
Southwest Kansas.
they donated that to the Fair Board. My understanding is it's in storage out there at the fairgrounds. One of the quotes that they actually received to install the fan was $2,500. So I'm not sure what numbers they're referencing there. But one of the quotes was much less than what was mentioned apparently last night. All donations of any kind of assets come before the commission. So the commission as a body has to vote to accept anything along those lines in terms of a donation. So if at the point where it won't be before this fair, obviously. So at the point if the Fair Board decides that they want to donate that fan to the commission and to the county and then have it installed, then the commission as a whole would have to vote and accept that donation. And that would come with the caveat, because that was what I was referencing. The county's already paid for the engineering of that. And that was the major expense. I believe that was somewhere along the lines of about $16,000 that the county paid for, I think 3 or 4 years ago. I can get you an exact figure later when I have my computer. So we've already paid for the engineering. They just need to have the installation by a licensed electrician. But structurally, there is support there in the pavilion to be able to install that. And again, I think that's actually at the maintenance the youth building at the fairgrounds is where it's stored at this point. Did I miss any of your list? Questions? Did I forget something?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
Thanks. Any more questions or comments? Or when we get down to the agenda item, changing the meeting time.
Okay, and I would like to thank everybody for coming today, and I appreciate it. And I also had a call on X, and also from the school and that place, and I agree on that. I think Mr. Savage is something we could consider looking at. And let's also on the John Street on his paddle park. I was told that we need to mark out the mark out. It's not set.
Don't have an exact ETA. What I can tell you is that the fuel pump went out on the loader. And so as soon as they get that repaired, then they will be back out and in that area. So they've got to install that one and then they will finish cleaning the guards out in that. So we have the parts in and they were thinking that we would actually be done with the repair this week to be back out and about. But we will let him know when we are going to be back in that area, Mr. Lovato said. It was just, they've got to get that fixed. And that was communicated.
I just know they called me.
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll move on to new business. Item A, request for approval of potential building modification.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Seferino Montaño. The request that we have, and as part of the lease agreement with the county, we're required to come before you if we're going to make any modifications, renovations. And what we're proposing to do is to take what was initially Los Abuelitos program on the west side of the building, which is an auditorium, and convert that into an optometry clinic. And I circulated, or at least we handed out a schematic of what it entails, and this is just a rough draft. And I'd like to make a correction. They put ophthalmology clinic, and it's actually optometry. We can only wish that we had an ophthalmologist here in Portales, but basically what happened is that we were provided the opportunity to submit a proposal for funding to do some renovation. And so I submitted a proposal for $723,168, which will be used to defray the cost of the renovation of this space. And as you know, the optometrist that was here is retired. We have no one in Portales, so we thought it was a good opportunity to try to put that program into place and provide services to the residents of Roosevelt County.
I would just like to say that I had my mother-in-law and my mother both that need to go to an optometrist. And I've tried for the past month to get them into somewhere. And I was told I was out. And I even tried Roswell. And I was out until January and February to get an appointment to even just go to the eye doctor.
Yeah, the other thing that's lacking is someone that accepts Medicaid, because a lot of them don't. In Roswell, I had met with an optometrist there who was interested in selling his practice to us, but he was the only one in Roswell that accepted Medicaid assignments, so the rest of them didn't. And I think Dr. Brooks didn't accept Medicaid, so this provides an opportunity to keep some of that local and provide that service.
I think this is a great thing for our town and community. I have one question for legal. Is there any way the county will be any way liable for anything in this building since it's already, I know like we already have to take care of some other systems there. I'm just worried if this will affect our budget down the road any.
You're asking me, I don't.
I mean, y'all carry all the insurance, all the liabilities.
Right.
For everything.
Yes, sir.
With that, I'll move, Madam Chair, members of the board, to approve agenda item 6A, the request from Mr. Montano for the approval of the potential building mods to the Roosevelt County Health Clinic.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Commissioner,
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you
so.
so much.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, item 6B, discussion and consideration of meeting time change. Who'd like to start? Commissioner Slater.
You're looking at me.
Whoever wants to start, go
Well,
for it.
My take on this as far as the time change, I take it serious when we have county employees that work all day and they have families at home that they'd like to get home to and other obligations at home, and we ask them to work all day and then get to spend another 2 hours. They could be late getting home. Some commissioners have a longer drive than others. I'm concerned about that. And so if your reason for not moving it, I think that might be a legitimate concern and for not moving that time. After being on the school board for several years and attending meetings, 6 o'clock meetings, attending regional board meetings after school, several hours, state board meetings after hours. I myself personally am certainly not opposed to changing that time. And I don't think it's an unreasonable request to change that time. I'm concerned, especially as being a part of education. We're at a place in our state to where we have some problems in education that are occurring in our state, that all the COVID rules that we have to abide by. We just got another one Monday requiring teachers to require, even if they're vaccinated, to wear masks. We're the state, we're having a lot of problems, I think, because of lack of information transposed to the community, the people. So what we did, in New Mexico, we went from a state school board that had an elected representative from each region, and then hired a state school board superintendent. And when that changed by a vote, state vote, to where our state school board superintendent is hired by the governor, and then they mandate the law, and local control is gone. And as a teacher for several years, I like the local control because I'm not for cookie cutter education, especially like if I was an ag teacher. I don't think that that a curriculum designed for Illinois for agriculture fits Elida. It doesn't fit Portales. Portales and Elida's students, they're not alike. But we're at a point now to where we're mandated what we can do and how our teachers will be evaluated. And if these teachers are not the evaluation process, if they do not abide by that, then they're in jeopardy of losing their license. But all this has come about to me because of lack of information for the public. I think we need to get more public involvement, more information. You know, Mrs. Hamilton and others mentioned the lack of attendance to the meetings where we were talking about the 5-year road plan. I think there are people that are interested in that road plan, but because of lack of involvement, they're not used to and familiar with the process of how do you find out about it? When is the meeting? When it's very simple. It's on, that type of information is on the commissioner's website. But people are just, they're interested, but they're not familiar with how to access that information. So I'm certainly not opposed to change that meeting time. I am concerned about asking our employees to stay longer. So I don't know what the answer is going to be, and I would like for other commissioners to voice their opinion on it. You know, we could change that meeting time, but if it's going to be like school board meeting, we have it at 6 o'clock, but who comes to the school board meeting? The administrators and principals and the people getting awards. And as soon as the people get their award, they're out the door. So a 6 o'clock meeting for school boards, it's available. It's a good, once in a while we have some. We had some, I sent Kay and I had to miss the one because of the medical reasons when we were going to go to a 4-day work week, 4-day school week. We had great community participation on that one. But for the most part, we're not having it. So if we change, I'm concerned, so we change our meeting, ask employees to stay, and still nobody comes. I'm concerned about that. But personally, I would favor changing it probably on a temporary basis. And if you don't get participation, then go back to the 9 o'clock meeting.
No, not really. I did want to ask Mr. Fraze, is part of this wanting to move the time, a personal request? I've been told that you have interest in running to be on the commission, and the reason you want to change is so you could make the meetings but keep your other job also.
No interest in running for county commissioner at this time.
That's, well, I didn't know about the future either, and that was one of my questions. If this was
No, sir.
kind of a double dip deal.
No, sir. No interest in running for county commission, but just putting myself in the position of the average community member. Whoever wanted to run for that position, it narrows it down to, I don't know what percentage of Roosevelt County is self-employed or retired, but I would venture to say that 90% would be ineligible to run based on when the meetings are. So that's why I brought that up. So we're automatically disqualifying, and I don't know the exact percentage. I'm pulling a number out of the air, but I would venture to say it's somewhere up around 90%. We're automatically disqualifying that percentage of the county residents.
Well, I just knew that this time has been the meeting time for ever and ever.
I can say that two meetings that I have attended, one was during spring break this year. The other two were this summer, and I had to miss morning workouts at the school in order to attend. So even in the summer, most people think teachers are off for 3 months. That's a myth, especially coaches. So I'm just speaking for myself, but I had other people that desired to be here this morning to voice a concern. They're unable to. I'm having to miss part of my job in order to be here at this point to voice a concern. So, and I don't think that's an isolated event, or I'm an isolated individual. So I'm trying to speak for those who cannot be here and speak for themselves.
Thank you. I'll have a comment. As Mr. Greider stated, the commission meeting has been at 9 o'clock on Tuesdays for generations. There's a lot of people say, well, I know I need to come to the commission at 9 o'clock on Tuesday. It's kind of known that's when they are. If you have something that bothers you, you schedule around it. I'm like Mr. Savage, I have no problem. I'll be here because I don't take my job lightly. I was elected. I knew when I ran for it. I knew when the meeting was. I knew what I was going to do. I've missed many opportunities to get my farming done, get things working, but that's my job. And I think everybody knows that 9 o'clock on Tuesday, not first Tuesday, whenever we have them, but it's usually Tuesdays. That's the commission meeting. And I'm not for the change of time. I mean, I think I'm not going to ask my employees to come in and work after hours, re-budget. I mean, when we had our gun problem that we all fought for, everybody made sure they was here. If you have something that bothers you, you'll make sure you're here. If you don't trust us, we got webcam now, you can be watched. So I am not for changing the meeting time. That's
Well, I guess save the best for the last.
yeah.
Oh, I have.
Good one, Madam Chair. Initially, I had mixed emotions about this, especially when, like I said, Judge Martin came before us a few years back. And I kind of felt how Commissioner Lee felt in some sense. But I'd like to kind of echo what Commissioner Savage talked about, said. I believe that traditions can be broken, can be made to be broken. I know it's been a tradition since when Dad was a commissioner in 1990, but I've known Coach Fraze, I've known Smith, I've known them for a lot of years, and I know that they didn't come here with ulterior motives. And I know that they're here on behalf of many, many residents from Roosevelt County. I mean, he coached my daughter for 4 years, so we've gotten pretty close to Coach Fraze over the years when he coached Brooke. But anyway, with that being said, not to sound selfish or anything, because I don't want to throw in the profession that I'm in now. I'm not in private practice anymore like I was for 8 years. But either way would be convenient for me, but I'm like Commissioner Savage. I think we should try it. Don't knock it until we try it. Because if it pans out, if we work, it's all on behalf of our people, our constituents and our residents. And if it's a tradition that's made to be broken, then I think we should try it. Even if we give it a 6-month go at it. 'Cause time will tell.
Okay. Well, my feelings on the whole thing are, I was elected to serve the people and to represent the people. And if you guys don't participate and you don't tell me what you want, there's no possible way that I can know. I love it when I get phone calls, even if you're mad. I do like those phone calls because I know that you're putting forth the effort to help. Because I don't like when something happens up here and we've made a decision, and this decision was based on what we get, but not what we get from out there. Because we know what the facts are, what the numbers are, what things are here. But if nobody says anything, there's no possible way we can know. I agree. I think that an evening meeting might help people. And even though you're not considering running at this time for commissioner, I feel like running for a commissioner ought to be a position that would accommodate any citizen, even the working class, especially the working class, the ones that work for themselves, the ones that have other jobs, the ones that go to school, whatever it is. It is open to anybody to run, and I think it ought to be available for that. As far as tradition goes, I'm not a traditionalist. I mean, what works for one may not work for the other. And I am completely open to having the meetings at night to accommodate. So do we, with that, I'll make a motion to change a meeting time. I would like to see it if it's Tuesday nights when the city council is, right? What do y'all think about doing like a meeting on a Thursday instead of a Tuesday night? We can do we can do one in the morning and one at night.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I don't see why we need to make a move right now. Why can't we table this, get with top management, other elected officials, kind of get a feel for what would accommodate them? Tuesdays always worked out for me. Tuesday evening would work out for me. Because we could stagger it between the city council meeting and the county commission.
When is city council meeting?
It's every other week like ours.
I know, but is it the first and third? Is the first and third is the same, right?
Well, they had one on Tuesday. Madam Chair.
about on Friday night? That work? Why not? I think that's a good night.
Whatever
Because
pleasures
if
the
we're up
board.
late that night, we don't have to.
We don't have to work.
I'm
tomorrow?
a
They don't have to work
Saturday
that late.
I think Friday night's
He's
awesome.
picking on me is what he's doing.
I'd be all for Friday night.
Like I said, I'm gonna stick with what table till we can talk to top management. I don't think that today's the right time to make that final decision until we can.
I agree with Mr. Lopez. I don't think today's the right. I'm not ready to vote on it now.
Okay.
I'm actually for changing it, but I think there needs to be some things
Hand out.
studied and discussed a little bit farther before we make a final decision on it.
Yes, thank you. Every elected official, and of course, like I said, top management, it's not fair for them not to have an input in this.
We
not.
don't normally have a vote in here. It would be nice to. Well, we're over for discussion. To be honest, I mean, I'm open.
How many of us all in here? George, yourself, 5 of us, Amber, the lawyer, our legal counsel.
Right, we don't.
I mean, the clerk, everybody. How many of us have something at night that we attend? That each one of us. Yeah.
I have that conflict on
Mhm.
occasion.
I mean, there's never going to be a night that fits the whole deal. That's right. Because some people are going to have children. Some people are going to have some people are going to have daycare at night. So they can come to the meeting. We don't have a, Ms. Hamilton, you,
I was just gonna say, I can put out a survey to the department heads and elected officials. I think they should all have a chance to weigh in on this part and just kind of ask them certain nights and everything, maybe a Wednesday night, alternating between games or something like that. So I know there's a lot of us that have kiddos, and I'm one of those that I don't want to miss a ball game. So that's just me. But my
well,
job
how-
is my
how many
job,
of our
and so
employees have small children that are single parents that are going to need a nighttime daycare. Is there any nighttime daycares in Portales?
That I don't know, but that can be part of the survey. If there's a childcare need, if there's a certain conflict, things along those lines, I can certainly get some data for you.
That would be my recommendation as well, because I had actually written it down, survey to mention that.
Anybody have anything? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Lee, your comment about the daycare, I think that's a perfect opportunity. You should pray that the youth come to the commissioner meeting and start to learn about our government. Because the state that we're in is due to the ignorance of the way government works.
Mhm.
Perfect opportunity for them.
But our employees, are they going to get off work, drive and go pick up their children and bring them back?
I can't answer that.
I'm for you. I'm all for our children knowing about a government. I think our schools could be teaching that. I mean, it was taught to me out of Floyd. I mean, I think it's a great deal, but I'm trying to look at the big picture for everybody. And I know that y'all want to have a night when this ain't the first time it's come up, but is it going to be is it going to work better for the whole community, or is it just going to work better for a little bit? That's what and as a commissioner, I've come upon things that commissioners before me have made up that we had to deal with later that has been a real headache. And I don't want to leave another commissioner a problem to deal with. Now, when I'm gone, the next commissioner, that might be the thing he wants to do. He's here, he gets to make that vote, and he can vote the way he feels. But for me, myself, I feel like 9 o'clock. I've been doing it. It's worked. I mean, I've had plenty of this room filled plumb full, and I've had it where it wasn't but 4 or 5 of us in here. So I don't see it really changing. I may be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. But for that reason, I just think there's too many obstacles for night with employees.
Is it open?
Well, Shawnee was wanting to say something. I'm sorry.
I didn't know if it was.
As a public, entire public sector, Ron as a board member, right? So many of us in here, we have been a public servant. We have worked for the state. And I guarantee you, when the principal said, you're gonna be at a meeting, you're gonna do a parent training at 6 o'clock tonight, you just had to figure it out. You know, you had to take care of, and we had families, but there was a many a night, and I was not a coach, but there was many a night.
But you figured it out.
I did, I figured it out.
If you want to be
As
somewhere,
an employee.
you
as
will
an
figure it
employee.
out. If you're,
So as an employee, you're the county employee, you figure it out
But-
as well.
if you're involved, you will figure out how to get to that meeting.
On both sides.
Yes, both sides. I'm right with you.
Go ahead, Mr. Priest.
I would just add to that, we're talking about potentially a handful of people figuring it out 2 nights a month, or thousands of people figuring it out 2 nights a month. I would rather be inconvenienced. I can find a babysitter. If I had 3-year-olds, I could find a babysitter 2 nights a month. If I had to, I could do that. But if I'm a small business owner and I've got to close my business, small, I don't have employees, or maybe one. It's a lot harder to close that business for a couple hours than it is to find a babysitter.
It is sure is
Teacher-
hard to close
teacher-wise.
what you're doing for a couple hours.
It's
So you got to
Very
take this job
difficult.
very important.
it's easier to be teaching than it is to be gone. Any teacher will tell you that. You can't just, I'll be back as a teacher. And there's planning, there is getting a sub, it is extensive to be gone. Way harder than finding a babysitter. That's my input.
Okay. I
Madam,
think that,
Madam President, did you have a motion? You made a motion, but I don't believe we ever went any farther.
I
than that,
was
so
gonna
would say
make, I was
we're
gonna make a
withdraw it, or
motion.
what do you wanna do?
I was gonna make a motion, but then I decided I wanted to ask people what they thought about the time change.
So you withdrew it.
So I did, because I was trying to see what kind of time people wanted and what they considered and they would like to do
Understand.
that, so
I see.
I I think that's a great idea to let them get involved and help decide a time.
It really doesn't require any action.
It does not,
Mm.
uh-uh. So we will look into that, but I would like to make sure that that does come back up on the agenda and that we do address it. I don't want it to just fall by the wayside. So, I would like to see it, I mean, we can get the survey out and get it back on the agenda. I'd like to see it back on the agenda in at least one of the August meetings if possible. Oh, there's only one? The 10th? I would think that would be fine. I would like to see it back on the agenda on the 10th of August.
Do you think, Madam Chair, do you think we'll have time to do our survey
I don't
with
know,
everybody by the 10th?
I don't know why we wouldn't. They'll be at work. We can just,
Let's see here. Let me
If you
check
want
that
your
quick.
opinion, no.
yeah, if you want your opinion, no.
Oh.
Just like if you want to come to a meeting, you'll come. You'll get your,
And if it's not moved, I can pretty certainly say this will be the last meeting I can be at until maybe next summer. This is how it is. So.
we'll get that survey out and bring it back on the next meeting. Okay, let's move on. Resolutions, ordinances, and proclamations. Item A, consideration of resolution 2021-37 fourth quarter, part 3, final budget adjustment. Ms. Revere.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Okay, so included in your packet information is the fourth quarter budget adjustment part 3. The budget adjustments include a transfer to the La Casa Fund to cover the roof reimbursement we are anticipating receiving in FY22 from capital outlay monies. We have received reimbursements for expenditures for the MAP program. So we have budget adjustments to reflect, of course, the expenditures and that revenue collected. Other adjustments include the EMS funds that are adjusted to actual for their required reporting. You will also note a budget adjustment for the federal monies received. DFA requires us to report the amounts in the American Rescue Plan Act fund. So we have a budget adjustment to reflect that change. That captured a couple of the budget adjustments. Other ones are some housekeeping budget adjustments. I will stand for any questions.
Anybody got any questions for? Feel good?
With that, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-37 for the fourth quarter, third final budget adjustment.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay. Resolution 2021-38 fiscal year fourth quarter final report.
Okay, so also in your packet is the fourth quarter final report, the recap report with the summary. This report captures the county's entire activity for the fiscal year for all the funds at the end of June 30th. Every fund is balanced and ties to all of our reports, such as balance sheets and our revenue and expenditure reports. With that being said, at the report, general fund, after required reserves, had an adjusted balance of just little over 8.8 million. That amount, of course, includes our investments. Road had an adjusted balance of 288,926. Every department and office closely monitored and reviewed their budgets, so all departments and offices operated at or below their budgeted amounts in the fourth quarter. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I move the adoption of 7B and approve the resolution 2021-38 fiscal year fourth quarter final report.
I'll second. No. Commissioner Greider, second. Commissioner Greider, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Now we need to move into public hearing regarding 2021-22 fiscal year final budget. I'll make a motion.
And I'll second that.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
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 yes,
Yes.
Ms. Rivera?
So also in the commission packet is the information, the budget recap report for our fiscal year 22. The preliminary was already presented. This will be our fiscal year 22 budget that reflects the final that we would be submitting to DFA. There are a couple, just very few changes, and I'll touch on those that we made. And we realized some of these changes after reviewing and comparing our last year's numbers. For instance, in our manager's budget, we did note a formula error. So there is a change to our group insurance, which is only about $5,000 difference. In our fairgrounds or grounds budget, there was about a $2,000 difference, and that is to include the maintenance now at the courthouse. That will be a monthly expense. And in our road fund, we captured a $17,000 road over in our CAPS line item. That is because some of the work was not finished in our fiscal year 21, so that amount will move forward to our fiscal year 22. And then in our LEPF fund, we will have a $5,000 small equipment increase, and that is because that amount will be expended in fiscal year 22. There were a couple changes in our DWI and court compliance to include expenditures and the revenue that will be collected for DWI. And then two changes in our GIS budget, respectfully increasing the fuel for our GIS, which is Johnny, and then the telephone expense. So with those changes, I will stand for any questions.
Madam Chair, make a motion, come out of public.
Yes.
I was getting you. Does anybody have anything on this?
I'll make my motion now. That we come out of public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
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 Did you have anything to say on it? Commissioner
We
Savage?
still discuss.
I
Did you
have
want
nothing to
some?
say.
All right. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-39. Oh, is that it? Oh, no.
Yeah, 39.
Yeah, 2021-03.
Dash 30. No, mine says 39.
Mine says 39.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong line. Sorry. 2021-39 and 2022 fiscal year budget adoption.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Commissioner
Yes.
Greider?
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Request for approval of notice of intent for consideration of ordinance 2021-03. An ordinance regulating the time, place, and manner of cannabis sales, manufacturing, and consumption. Mr. Knudsen, Ms. Hamilton, and Commissioners.
Hey, I'll get started and just turn it over to Mr. Knudsen because he is the genius behind this. So what we're asking y'all today to approve is the notice of intent, just to advertise that y'all will be considering this ordinance. There is very little. The state has really tied the hands of local governments of what you can regulate when it comes to cannabis, but there are certain avenues that you can do. So I know myself and Mr. Knudsen have attended several meetings. I've sent y'all a lot of information as we've received that. The bill itself is just short of 200 pages here. You will see like lots of documentation, lots of research, trying to put something together. And so I asked Mr. Knudsen to put together a draft of the ordinance, as we've talked about, just at least a starting point for this commission so that y'all can consider what you would like to regulate, what this could look like. Really had to research. Initially, we were hoping for the ability of like a moratorium to allow more time because we're still waiting on the state regulation and licensing division to come out with their final rules. However, they have not yet released those. And The concept of a moratorium is not something that we feel like is going to be viable for the county at this time. So this is an ordinance draft that I think actually kind of came out of San Juan County. They face a lot of the same things. They're not zoned, but they have a very conservative base that wants to see some things closely regulated or monitored as much as we can. Chaves County, Lincoln County, Curry County, San Juan, Doñana, all the major counties that have been on the phone call just throughout the state, most of them are considering having something. Debaca County, Harding County, Union County, and Guadalupe County were the 4 counties that we did hear from that are considering just trusting the state and not passing their own local ordinances. But the majority of the 33 counties are looking at it. And it was something that on all of the legal calls was recommended. So with that, I will turn over to Mr. Knudsen, but he has put a lot of time, effort, and labor into this and researching to at least have a draft of what we can turn over. And if the commission has any questions, I know that y'all have had the draft documents, so y'all may have some thoughts. All of this, again, very much just an initial draft that y'all are able to modify and work as y'all see best.
So I think the important things for the commission to know are that the Association of Counties believes that there will be a lot of focus on the eastern counties due to the fact that we're adjacent to Texas. And they think that a lot of the big money is going to be flowing in to these areas to build as close as they can, both manufacturing and supply of marijuana for the Texas market, because that's where the money is. So that was one thing that we were concerned about, or at least, wanted to give some thought to. Roosevelt County has never had any kind of countywide zoning. Some counties do. We've never, the commission has never put into place any kind of countywide zoning. So that ties some of the things that we might otherwise be able to do. So what the legislature has said we can do is we can regulate time, place, and manner of cannabis sales, manufacturing, and consumption. Some of the other concerns that we heard about are that there is tremendous odor from this. I didn't know that. There's the odor from marijuana that has been manufactured, I guess, is just horrific. And Denver, Colorado, I guess, has really experienced that. And there's, so there was a lot of talk about that and a lot of discussion about that. So even, the counties that do have zoning, such as Santa Fe County, they're really interested in having as much regulation as they can, and they're legal. They have, full-time legal staff, several attorneys, and so they had drafted a lot of that relates back to their zoning. So we couldn't use much of that, but I tried to take some of that. We got some language from Lincoln County. We got some language, as Amber said, from San Juan County. And we put this together as best we could to try to give you as many options or as many ways to limit things. So for example, because there are going to be marijuana manufacturing and sales. You can't prevent it. It's state law. So the best we can do is try to regulate it. So for example, regulate where it can, we don't have zoning, so we have a hard time regulating where things can be, but we did our best in this. We are able to regulate time. If you're going to have it open, we looked at the model of the alcohol industry of limiting it to, those same kinds of time frames. But anyway, there's a lot here to think about. And so this is just a draft. We still have the opportunity to make revisions to this. And so today, all we're doing is asking you for your, giving us the intent to publish this ordinance so that it can come back in front of you at the next commission meeting. And the reason for wanting to do this in somewhat of a hurry is the state law is enacted the 1st of September. So this all comes into being 1st of September. And we, like Amber said, we still don't know what the state regulations, the details of the state regulations are going to be. So it kind of leaves us in the dark on some details, but this is the best we could do. And so, you know, we're happy if you have input or questions.
I have something. I would just like to say, I have read the draft resolution. This doesn't have anything to do with whether or not I agree or disagree with someone smoking marijuana, because to me, this point is irrelevant when it comes to the fact that I am completely against ever telling anybody what to do on their private land. I am completely against that. I do not agree that it is my place to tell anybody what to do on their private property. I disagree with that.
Madam Chair, real quick, first and foremost, thank you for drawing this up. I did read it a couple of times, tried to. What is I know that you're our county attorney, but what is your legal expert opinion on something like this, an ordinance? Because I know that counties are just doing the intent, but no one's really, it hasn't gone through fruition, and we don't know if any counties are going to be able to do it before September 1st.
Well,
Is that- do
I
you
think that lots of counties are planning on it. I think everybody's moving forward to try to enact, not everybody, Amber's mentioned the counties that aren't, but virtually all the counties are trying to put something together to regulate what you're able to regulate, to at least give you the option. Now, whether you don't regulate things, that's your business, but you know, that's what government does, is to try to put some kind of buffers or safeguards as best they can for the public. And so things like odor, you know, where manufacturing occurs, and, you know, so there's a lot of things to think about here.
It's kind of like the rule, no nightclubs or bars near a church, basically, right?
Yeah, well, those rules are in here,
It's
yeah.
within the
So limiting, yeah,
municipalities.
you can't have it close to.
Well,
And
I've
that's
got
something-
mixed
And
emotions.
also smoking in public, that's another thing I didn't bring up, but that's a big part of this is, you know, you don't want secondhand smoke interfering with other people. Some people are going to be tremendously opposed to being around marijuana. That's their right too. And so, you know, you don't want to be forcing, you want to be able to limit how people are consuming this, because they're going to be allowed to. So we try to put some, as much as we're able to put in here, we tried to give you those options. Now, whether you adopt this or you don't, that's up to you. Take out what you want. But
Yeah,
I just tried to give you a draft.
well, we don't want the abuse of state law either by individuals who are just solely thinking of profits and not completely disregarding that skunk odor is what it is. I have individuals who own dispensaries, and I've been to them, and it's not a pleasant smell. But I'm like Madam Chair Dixon, I also don't believe that we should be telling residents what they can do or not do on their own private land. This is going to be a tough one for me to kind of, because I'm also in behavioral health. You know, I'm in that field, and there's just so many.
We're not zoning anything by this. I want to be clear about that. There's no zoning.
Right.
This isn't a zoning ordinance because we don't have any countywide zoning, but it does restrict certain people, private citizens, from using their land if, for example, they're in proximity to schools or churches or public buildings. I don't care if it is their public land, they shouldn't, the state law is going to restrict them
Right.
from doing this. So that's all this is really, this is all that's doing.
With that being said, Madam Chair, if the state law is going to control it, why do we need to pass an ordinance against it? Because some of this I read said fencing, you'd have to fence out your place if you wanted to grow marijuana. You would have to pay a licensing fee to the Roosevelt County. You'd have to have a Roosevelt County person come in and inspect it to see if it was fit to grow before you could plant it. I know some of the state laws say that you have to pay by the plant too. So are we going to have an employee go out and count plants? I mean, that's the state law. They have to pay so much money per plant Over 3,500 plants, they have to pay, I think it's $22 a plant to grow it. I'm not for the consumption in a public place. I don't know, there's already the law of 300 feet from a school, or what I read said 300 feet from the state, from a daycare or a school to sell it.
That's actually not in state law. So they say the local jurisdictions, you have to put
In
that
the in the licensing, to get a license to sell it, in that license, you have to fill out you will be 300 feet from a school or daycare.
And they're telling us you need to have that in your ordinance to say you can't make them any more than 300 feet, but you can put in your local ordinance that it's a minimum of 300 feet from such an establishment.
And
Yes, sir.
back to the personal property and your own private land growing it. I think that should be a personal legal issue and not a government issue with you and your neighbors if you're growing it. I mean, I know a guy that had problems with his neighbors with their junk, and he took them to court and he took care of it. It was done. I don't believe that we need one person or a county saying this smells bad. We ain't gonna have, you're causing flies, you're causing smell, too much traffic. I believe that should be up to an individual and his legal rights and not the county enforcing that.
Well, then I would just ask that you come back and you make revisions to this proposed ordinance to reflect whatever it is that the commission wants. I
Yeah,
just put a draft
I'm all
here
for
for you.
no consumption in public properties, no smoking at all. I didn't figure it would be able to be smoked anyway with the laws so many feet from a public property or a public entrance, you can't smoke anyway. So are we going to change it to consumption, which also means candies, which means vapes? I mean, there's a lot of things to look at here. Butter. What's butter?
Yeah, you can put it in food. I mean, that's.
Jerky.
Yeah, you can put it in jerky.
No, there's a lot here to think about.
Yeah. I'm more worried about, and I don't want to limit my neighbors from being able to grow it. I mean, there's going to be money made in this county from growing marijuana.
Yep. For sure.
I know in the law, I was reading I checked up on it earlier this morning. You have to, I thought I was pretty sure about this, so I read again. You have to have legal water rights to grow marijuana. There's supposed to be no public water used to grow marijuana. So I don't see you're going to have it in buildings in the town where there's mainly public water. The growing and the drying, I know it's already been dried in the county. I mean, so you move in by somebody that grows in, does that mean they have to give up their livelihood of growing it? I mean, I think we do need an ordinance on the consumption, the sale. I mean, we don't need to be selling it by the schools where the kids can walk over there and pretend they have an ID, because we all know that. We all tried it once. But I'm really against the private land use part of that. I mean, if a person wants to set up at their house out there and sell it, and their neighbors don't like it, I think that's their neighbors to take it to court, not for the county.
So you're opposed, if I'm understanding, to the permit section? of
Yep.
this? Okay.
Well,
Because
and-
every time, and I'm really afraid we're stepping on toes here with the smell, because we have lots of feedlots, we have lots of dairies. As a farmer myself, I pile lots of manure around my fields. How many of y'all are all like, oh my gosh, can't wait to get, or they even spread it, and now then the whole town stinks.
Like the old ethanol plant.
Well, I thought it smelled good. Some people hate it.
So actually, currently, right now, any occupational business that's out in the county is required to get an occupational license through the clerk's office. That is not something that's
What do
new.
you say occupational? I'm a little slow on that.
So if you do business in an unincorporated area of the county, you should have a county business license through the clerk's office as it is. You might not want
What,
to answer that.
and when you say
So-
business, I'm a farmer. I don't have a license.
But there's
I don't
several
have a
farmers
license.
that do.
Huh?
Actually, there are farmers that do come into the clerk's office and have those licenses. So anyone that's doing business within the unincorporated areas of the county should have those. So this is not anything new in this section. The only thing different is the fee structure. Because anyone, again, that does anything like this has a self-employed business, a farmer, a rancher, a dairy, anyone like that should already have an occupational license through the clerk's office. That was the discussion with Ms. Parks.
I don't like that.
Do you want to change that to what we're?
Mhm. Well, it's-
And that
it's
aligns
not
with
done.
state law.
I mean,
I think we need to revise this because we do
lot.
need to have an ordinance that we can revert back to for some things, but
I
some
agree.
of it in there, I have a problem with.
I agree. Like, I agree with like this sales and stuff like we do with alcohol. I mean, I agree basically like I
But
do with alcohol,
ultimate-
exactly like I do with alcohol.
Ultimately, the state law is going to supersede, and no matter how us counties interpret the law, right?
This is not
State
law,
will
it's an
always-
ordinance.
Well, state law is going to supersede.
Well, it will, yes, it will to the extent that that there's a conflict, but this ordinance isn't in conflict with state law.
But did y'all not just say that the state hasn't put out all their laws yet?
Well,
I mean-
no, we're talking about administrative regulations, the regulations on how this is gonna come into what the fees and the structure of things is gonna be.
And
No,
they
the
haven't
law,
set
the
that.
legislature has enacted the law. And it's given counties the authority to enact an ordinance that regulates as to time, place, and manner of manufacturing, distribution, consumption of marijuana, cannabis.
And without doing the ordinance, we give up the right, to say anything.
That's correct. That is right.
And then what would it be? What would the time, place, and manner be according to the state?
Well, that's a great question because there isn't anything.
They have zero? Because I didn't find anything. That's why I was
No,
asking.
No, because they're really saying, so I guess theoretically, you could have for example, a marijuana consumption could be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay, that's what I was asking. I didn't see anything on it, so that's
I
why I was
have
asking.
another question on that ordinance. It was going to require everybody that sells it to buy a county license. Is that right? The way I read that?
A permit.
Permit. So we have lots of Allsups, Stripes, little shops that might want to sell candles and sell EBT on the, or whatever. What is it? CBD?
CBD.
Yeah.
CDB. I don't know.
I mean, how many licenses are we going to be looking at? Because if you go to Florida or you go to Colorado or any of them, I mean, you go into I haven't been to Florida, but Carla was telling me that when you go into a convenience store in Florida, you pick a bag of chips that's sitting right by it. Is that how, I mean,
So it's unincorporated areas. There's none of those such establishments yet that you've listed in the unincorporated areas. So the city is considering their own ordinance and the city council will adopt what they see fit. This is for unincorporated areas in the county. So outside the city limits. Of
It's
anything.
outside the
Outside
city
the village of
limits.
Dora, outside the village.
so
of
you're
Cosby,
talking
the
right
town of
there
Oneida.
at Road 7 where some of us farm and carry on that we're not, and have dairy farms and have chicken, poultry farms and
The unincorporated areas, that's the only thing that y'all have the jurisdiction at this point to enforce.
but they smell, Paul. Paul, they smell. I hear about it all the time. They smell. So they want to get rid of them too. If the next thing you know, well, his marijuana, well, we got rid of him. Let's get rid of the other guy that smells.
I know.
I have a problem with it. I mean, with the smell and somebody controlling that. There's a way to do it, but who's going to sell it outside the city limits
gonna
then?
grow
Then
it.
why are we worried about controlling it?
We don't know. You have places like Lingo that are not incorporated that could be impacted by this because they're saying the Texas feed could come right down.
Well,
and shoot
how would
down
it
there.
affect Lingo? I mean, who
Yeah,
out there would
somebody
it
wants-
affect?
I don't.
I mean,
know.
not a person, but as just say any individual. The little town of Lingo's there. they can make a ordinance for their,
No, they're
No,
not,
they're
they're not,
They're
they're
un- so
not
they
a
can't.
village, so they're part of us, like Arch, Mill and
when can they
Sands.
come in? Say there is a problem, can they come in then? Or do they have any legal recourse as individuals to go after it? Just like the gentleman I know went after the trash piling up on the fence line.
I got that crystal ball over at my office.
Oh, but
it's
is that-
usually-
they
it's
have no
usually pretty
legal-
cloudy.
Well,
You know,
it's
I don't
like
know. I don't know the answers to all those things, but that's what this is for, is to give you what it's a cookie cutter. We tried to put as much in there as you could put in, and you take out what you want to, don't adopt it. I mean, that's your call.
well, I just don't see, like, if we are out there and they're gonna put up a dispensary or whatever out in the county, I can't see anybody coming in and putting a daycare up right next to it. Or them going out and saying, hey, well, I don't even know of a daycare or school we have out there in the unincorporated areas. We don't even have any, so that would be irrelevant as well. Because there's none out there, so if the dispensary's already there, don't build your school there, don't put your daycare there.
I think it's gonna revolve more on the growing, the agricultural part of
That's the
it.
part.
That's the
That's
part
what
I
I'm
don't
worried
Where
like.
people are gonna have sections and they're gonna grow it, because it's gonna be money making. It's gonna create a lot of revenue.
That's their
and-
land.
Don't even get me started though on that subject.
Nope.
No. I
So
just don't
again,
see where we need
this is just
anything.
a draft for the commission. We just need we're just asking for the approval of the notice of intent to advertise. Then y'all can come back at the August 10th meeting, make any necessary adjustments y'all would like to see, make any amendments, not adopt it, however y'all would like to proceed as a board.
We
With that-
can revise it. I mean, legally, even after we put it out. But
So, yeah,
this is the
just a
intent of the one
draft.
we're going to.
It's a draft.
With that, Madam Chair, I move that we adopt or we approve agenda item 7D for approval of notice of intent for consideration of ordinance 2021-03, an ordinance regulating the time, place, and manner of cannabis sales, manufacturing, and consumption.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Greider?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Moving on, procurements, contracts, and agreements. Item 8A, request for approval of memorandum of understanding between New Mexico Secretary of State and Roosevelt County. Ms. Baca. Ms. Baca's not here. Are you Ms. Baca today? Who's Ms. Baca?
Nah.
No, I know,
Yes.
I'm saying which one of y'all are going to be
Okay,
here.
so apparently I will pinch hit with this email from Mandy. So they were asking for this to be added to the agenda. Both myself and Randy have reviewed it. The process is new, but similar to the reimbursement that they've received in the past. They will be administering the funding for the regular local election, more like a grant program where funding is provided upfront with an MOU similar to a grant agreement, with a post-election report due in December rather than a reimbursement request happening post-election. So Mandy was out of town. And so this is what was included in your packet. It is standard. I love the idea of actually having it like a grant and them sending the funds in the post-election. If we need to return any unused funds, then we have it there. So we didn't have any concerns with this. We would just ask for y'all's approval.
I'll make a motion to accept the memorandum of understanding between the Mexico Secretary of State.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, consideration of agreement of hold harmless with Billy Jack and Mary Lou Moore for road maintenance on South Roosevelt Road 30 and a half. Ms. Hamilton?
Yes. So, Madam Chair, Commissioners, this is an ongoing discussion that we've been having since the spring with a resident in Commissioner Dixon's area. They have wished, this is the individuals they've once moved to close the road. They got the road closed, then they wanted the road back open. And now the last part was they don't want maintenance, but now they want to do their own maintenance on the road. It's about a 2-mile stretch of road that only they live on. And so it would benefit the road department. I met with Mr. Lovato at length about this, developed this and drafted it over for Randy's review and approval to look at. This is simply just allowing them the option to maintain the 2 miles of their road. They do have the ability for the blade and water, which will be great for what they need and everything, and can maintain it in the meantime between the county maintenance or around. Mr. Lovato, as it states here, that the road superintendent will inspect the maintenance work to deem that it's acceptable and that we don't create any kind of a safety hazard or there is any cuts in the road or anything. And then again, there's a hold harmless and indemnification clause in here as well. So I would just stand for any questions. It's very similar to the prior contract agreements that we've had, road use agreements with other entities. So that's
And
what
they
this was
can't
based
block
off
it
of.
or keep anybody from using the road
No,
still.
it's
so
not
like it would with
closed.
Okay.
It remains open. It's
Okay.
only allowing them to do the
Do
maintenance.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll make a motion to approve, consider the agreement of hold harmless with Billy Jack and Mary Lou Moore for road maintenance on 30 and a half.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Commissioner Greider?
Yes.
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 I'm gonna abstain.
Yes.
Motion carries. Excuse me. 8C, consideration of project change order for stormwater drainage project. Ms. Hamilton.
Yes. So, sorry, that was. So included in your packet is the project change order that we have brought forward after reviewing. So I know when the new cricket systems were put in and we talked about the drop inlets, the RFP was already out, but we wanted to ensure that we had those drop inlets at those locations to control that water flow. So that's what's in mind. This will be offset. So initially the project estimate on this change order for those additional drop inlets and pipe is right at 25,000, but we do have some cost savings that will offset that. We just don't know a dollar figure on that yet, because there will be less pipe used because of the way the windmill park has been reconfigured. That entire holding pond has actually been relocated in that abandoned area there that we were able to relocate out of. They're relocating the gas line this week and everything to get that handled as well. And so we know that there will be some offset. Like I say, it will not be the full 25,000, but this is a change order that has been approved and suggested by the project engineer. I've reviewed it, as has the state Department of the Environment that provided the grant funding for this. So we're just asking for commission approval for those.
What was the original price of this? What was the original cost of this project?
At the bottom of the page in your packet, it talks about the initial total was 560,728, and the new revised net total is $5,086.86. Wow, I can't read today. Sorry. So it's the net difference of that change order.
Okay, there it is. I looked, I didn't open that little button. Okay.
With that, I'll make a motion to accept the project change order for the stormwater drainage project.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Commissioner Greider?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you.
Media communication, and he's not here. Meeting adjourned.
I didn't want to vote on the road deal, you know. I'm afraid we're gonna have lots of people want to maintain the roads themselves. Cause I've already had that question brought up,
Well,
and it's a public road. And now, for the whole reason, somebody goes down there and then they start telling, well, we laid it, road, you take care of it.
that's why I asked,
You know, Roy, they-
because I wanted it in the minutes,
And when
because
they have
that's
that
gonna be
whole
a problem.
harmless, somebody will be an asshole.
We can pull that out.